Hello and good morning. It is Tuesday, November 15th. Feels like a hump day to me, but I guess we're not there yet. I don't know why it feels like this week has already been a little bit long. Excited to do another episode of the Plant Based Morning Show today. We're going live from the No Meat Athlete official channel. We've been using the new Plant Based Morning Show Instagram channel or Instagram account, I guess you'd call it. Uh, and that's cool. And that's growing well. People are there. There's community. There are pictures being shared. So we're gonna keep doing that, but we just figured for old time's sake, we would go live with No Meat Athlete official and compliment. There's Doug. How's it going, Doug?
I need some new dances here.
Whoa, my headphones are not working. You need new dances?
I need some new dances. Yeah. You need me to stop talking?
No, you can keep talking. I gotta get my headphones working.
Yeah, I always want to come in with a bang. You know, I got to come in with a dance and get some movement. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just realized in the camera that my shirt is on inside out.
Oh, that's good. Good start.
Oh, this is kind of funny.
Good preparation.
There aren't supposed to be so many lines here. I think that's a camera issue. I've been at a coffee shop all morning with my shirt inside out. The tag. Yeah. Oh well.
It's cool. I think it could be a good look. I'm surprised that's not a look that's taken off really yet. Steven says what I was going to say. He said, see what the kids are doing on TikTok. For all these dances you have, you just need to be on that.
Yeah. Smart idea.
I know you're a fan of social media networks that don't seem like you should be on them, Doug. It seems to me like you get addicted easily to the ones that aren't really meant for us.
Like
TikTok.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I remember TikTok, you were telling me you keep swiping through it all. It was like a year ago.
Oh yeah, it was
that.
Oh man, I have not been on TikTok in a very long time because it was a month of unhealthy habits for sure. And my daughter, it was like the first month of my daughter's life. You know, you're holding her a lot. You're sitting in a dark room. I'm just swiping down, swiping all over the place. I'm like, oh man, this is like coming out of the cloud of TikTok. And since then, I took it off of my. I think that was what sparked the social media cleanse that I did.
Oh yeah, TikTok did it.
Yeah, and then some of the other ones will sneak back on. Obviously, Instagram is definitely on there on my phone. But TikTok, I'm done with it. I'm over it. I'm never going back.
Well, it's owned by China or something, isn't it? Aren't they behind it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if the state is behind it, but it's in China. I think there's a lot of security issues that are related.
Yeah, I don't know where I read it. Maybe it was Morning Brew. Just real discussion about banning it. That like there were politicians and things like it was really might be banned in the U.S. for security reasons, which is just surprising to me that social media could do that. Yeah. So are you on? You must be on Be Real now. Is that what it's called?
So Steven just asked about that. No, I actually just heard about this. Is that the Jack Dorsey's new thing, or is this?
I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I think he's good. As far as I don't know much about him. I know he's a Twitter founder, right? So I was thinking it'd be pretty smart to do that. Be Real doesn't sound that smart to me. It just sounds. I think it takes a picture of like it prompts you throughout the day twice maybe, and it says take a picture exactly of what you're doing this instant. So no, I guess it gets past the fake, and it takes a picture from the other side of the camera as well. So it might be your wall or something. Like if you're laying in bed. That was the criticism I read about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. Just doesn't.
That's one of those things that sounds cool in concept, but not that's gonna like draw you in every day. I feel like.
Right.
There was one. Oh man. Do you know Casey Neistat?
No.
He's a big YouTuber. He started a social media one where the only way your camera worked is if you like held it up to your chest, so that it wasn't like in front of your face. So it's like projecting only that. And it's a cool idea, right? So like if you're at a concert or something like that, instead of watching the screen, you're watching it, or
right. So it improves things for the
talking
user.
to somebody. Yeah. So it's, it's kind of like a cooler experience. And I love the idea, the concept, but I think that no one.
Right. Cool experience. I mean, it's a better experience for the content creator, but not necessarily the viewer. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, because you want to be able to see what,
right.
like frame it properly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked a little bit about being from separate generations, though, even though we're only separated by 4 years. But when you talk about social media, it sounds like a different generation talking about it than me. It's just, I feel like somehow there was a cutoff point where it came out. Maybe I was more an adult when that stuff took off, and you were just below the line. And I don't know. It just seems like you're more of a social media guy than I am. Because I don't get it. I've tried to go into TikTok, and I can't even, like, I don't get addicted at all. I don't know what I'm doing, and I hate it, and I just go, and I can't imagine what would draw someone in. Like, what is interesting on there? It's not your friends, right? You're just seeing people do crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not like crazy stuff. I mean, sometimes it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. I think that they've built like the perfect attention grabbing thing, because they're all so short that you never get bored. Or if you do, you just swipe up and there's another one like, there's like no load time.
But none of them are good enough. But none of them are good enough to hook you. I mean, I literally couldn't find something good on there that was, and it's not Jeffrey. By the way, Mr. Jeffrey asked me to call him Jeff from now on, so I'm calling him Jeff.
Oh.
Jeff said he didn't really ask. He said I'm welcome to call him Jeff. But I said I like calling him Mr. Jeffrey. It's like it's like a radio show caller guy who has a name. Anyway, he said maybe you're a superhuman. That is not my point with this. I'm not trying to say, look at me, I'm above this. Like, I truly don't get it. I don't get, like, it's like the videos are too quick to hook me. Like, I need something that says, like, okay, this video is gonna be about this, and here's why you should watch it, and like, it's just, I could see someone jumping on the couch or whatever. It's like I'm just done. I just need to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that you tick differently than everyone else, because obviously TikTok is huge, and it's not huge because the quality content is huge.
Right.
It's huge.
But to my point, I don't know older people who are on TikTok. I know older people are on the other stuff, and maybe it just hasn't reached them yet. But I just feel like maybe it's a generational thing, and I'm just separate from you in that way. Because my aunts and uncles, they're not on TikTok. They're not. Right. They don't care about that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, maybe there's a larger barrier of entry for an older person. I don't know. Maybe, I'm not sure. So Facebook got big when I was in college. So I think it was my freshman year or sophomore year, began that whole Facebook wave. You were probably just out of college when Facebook started, which really means, because it was only tied to universities or colleges, it probably meant that like you weren't on Facebook for several years after college.
Right.
Is that right?
I was not for a while.
Yeah.
We had MySpace.
It used to be just
you were on MySpace. I wasn't on that either, but it was.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, Matt, I think that you're just a little different. Like you've been slow to adopt a lot of like smartphones, and slow to adopt.
Yeah, that's true.
Social in general. So I don't know.
So anyway, that's our social media segment.
Vicky F, who I know is not part of my generation. She says she gets caught up in it sometimes. So there you go.
That's my mom. Okay. I mentioned my aunts and uncles, did not mention my parents. So I guess I can stay too. All right. I didn't know my mom was on TikTok.
Well, all right. So speaking of things that you've said in the past, I got a wonderful letter from Barbie, who's a listener. Okay. She says,
I think Barbie's written to me as well, by the way. I think she's the one who told me that Seinfeld is a good watch on Netflix, because I always watch The Office. I think I don't know many Barbies, and that's the same way she spelled it. So I think this is the same Barbie.
She wanted to let us know that Sam Turnbull, the author of Fast, Cheap, Easy Vegan, is actually a pretty huge vegan author. Did you already read this, or no?
No. But I said this. I said this a couple days ago, right?
Right.
My apology.
Mm-hmm. Is a pretty huge cookbook author in Toronto. I can understand why you wouldn't have heard from them, but her first book, Fuss, Free Vegan, and her website, it doesn't taste
like chicken.
It doesn't taste like chicken.com are some go-to places. So basically she's just saying, I know you bought the book. I don't know if you've given it a try yet, but it felt important enough for me to call this out, because we were probably a little unfair to Sam in her book.
which is why I redacted it and put out the next episode. I showed that I had bought it. I'm guessing Barbie knee-jerk responded fired that email off after she heard that first episode, in which I thought Sam Turnbull was a man, by the way. I just saw the name Sam. I was like, oh, he's whatever. So I bet Barbie had not heard my apology episode when she did that. It wasn't really an apology. I put that in the episode title as if it was a big thing, but I just said that kind of wasn't fair to it.
Uh,
Anyway, so we had the book. I've been leafing through it. Haven't yet found anything that caught my eye. So this I can say freely because I'm not. This is not unfair. I'm leafing through the book. I haven't seen anything yet that says, well, I got to stop and make that. But we would definitely make something from it, and I'll let you know how it is.
Awesome. Yeah, please do. Please do.
All right. So this next thing on the show plan, Doug, is tantalizing me. It is. I see Falling for Christmas is there. It's my mom texted me and said she got her own Netflix account and was watching. She sent me a picture of the intro screen of Falling for Christmas, and I thought, I'm having a positive influence. So what's the news here? Did you watch it?
I watched it. It took me 3 nights. It took Katie and I 3 nights because
okay.
Not because it wasn't good. It wasn't like we had to turn it off. It was just because by the time we sit down on the couch, we're not going to make it through a movie. Even we started it over the weekend on Saturday. We couldn't even do it on Saturday. We were just so tired. Yeah, I watched it. I don't want to make any spoilers here, but I do think you're going to like it. And what's her name? Lindsay Lohan. She kind of redeemed herself a little bit. Yeah.
Because the movie's good or because she's good in it?
I mean, I don't know if I'd go as far enough to say either, but but
it's not a train wreck, though.
It's not a train wreck.
No, her life.
She did a great job. She did a great job.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Good. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There was this Christmas movie thing. It has become a popular venue for comebacks from actors and actresses. I don't know if it was always that way, but like DJ Tanner, I don't know her name, but the girl who played DJ Tanner, she's now an actress in Christmas movies. The daughter, the bride in Father of the Bride, which is a good movie. She was in I think it was Hallmark last year. Could have been Freeform, but she was in this weird series of 2. They like shot the same Christmas movie from 2 different sisters' perspective, and they played it as 2 different movies. It was the weirdest thing, but it was kind of interesting. Yeah, it's like the social media thing you talked about. It's like so that one was interesting. I wish I had the names at hand. I don't remember these names. You watch them and then you forget about them. But there are many more than that. There are a lot of people like these actors that from when I was a kid. Now they're back. Holiday in Handcuffs. Jeff says Melissa Joan Hart and what's his name? AC Slater. I don't remember what's his name.
Oh yeah. He didn't need to come back, right? I mean,
he didn't need to come back. He was always around. Heartthrob.
Yeah. He's like hosted a bunch of he's dance-off shows and stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, Jody Shuck. That is with AC Slater, and I don't know his name. Oh, Mario Lopez.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, the Christmas movies they're good for that. So I'm glad Lindsay Lohan is back. I didn't really see many Lindsay Lohan movies to begin with. I just remember her in the news all the time. Good. Well, I'm glad you watched it, Doug. I heard there was a twist at the end. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure the twist gets spoiled in the description, but it's the most predictable twist. Maybe all of them are, I guess. Yeah. But there's nothing unpredictable about the movie. But I have to say, so I'm not nearly the holiday film aficionado as you are, and I kind of cringed at the idea of watching a Christmas movie before Thanksgiving, especially 10 days before Thanksgiving. Right. But I kind of enjoyed it. It got me in the spirit a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask. Is your spirits high now? Are you excited?
Yeah, I kind of am. I'm kind of excited for the holidays, and it turned really cold this week. So just
you need to go to Starbucks, get yourself a red cup drink.
I do. You're right.
And you'll be fully in the spirit
instead of a boring white cup.
Yes. Good. All right. Well, let's see. Yesterday's show, we were trying this new format where we don't necessarily call out headlines specifically, just sort of topics. We'll see how that goes. I'm at like a crossroads here. I shouldn't say a crossroads, but the show up until now has been about news, and a lot of it is vegan meat, fake meat news, and it has prompted us to go eat more fake meats than we typically do. And today's show plan, honestly, like the headlines that jumped out as good enough to talk about, they're all just plant-based meat news. Mm-hmm. Not all junk food. Some of it's about the cultivated meat, and it's possibly it's interesting. So I'm excited to talk about it. But I do wonder, I keep wanting to should we find articles where we kind of go through things, like Veg News at some point. I forget what it was. It was, I don't even remember. Was it about fiber, some sort of ingredient that was not that interesting.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about it. And because like for the past 10 years with No Meat Athlete Radio, it's always been about us giving actual like healthy, I don't know if advice is the word, but information about how we live our lives, things we recommend, because we learn a lot about that stuff and have made that our careers for the past decade.
Yep.
This show's never about that. It's more just like the news, and so much of it is junk food. So I keep wondering like if we should have more stuff where we I don't know, actually give informative stuff other than just informing you about the latest news. So I don't really know, but all that is just to say we've been experimenting. So if you have feedback about anything or what you want to hear more of, or are liking or not liking, just let us know. You can DM us in Plant Based Morning Show Instagram account. That's one easy way to tell us. So feel free. But I'm just asking, please let us know, because we're just fumbling around here and figuring out what people like. So
yeah.
Anyway, to get us going here, we do have one quick headline I just wanted to call out as a specific headline, and that is that Burger King is trialing a 100% vegan location in Lisbon, which is kind of news because there has been none, according to this article, none on the Iberian Peninsula yet, no vegan Burger King location. We know they've been in the UK. They've had at least 2, I think one maybe even currently. I don't know if there are others throughout Europe. We had the one in, I think it was it Austria? I don't know, where they were doing do you want it regular or with meat was the way they were asking when people ordered a Whopper,
right.
Which was an interesting way of positioning it. So I'm guessing that somewhere they've got some other vegan spots, but this is a pop-up location. It goes for 1 month. I think it's pretty much the month of November. And it is very exciting to me because we're just, like, I don't know, some amount of traveling I've done in Spain. Like, I just have this sense, and Spain is not Portugal, but I'm guessing very similar cultures. Just because they're both sort of isolated on this peninsula. It just doesn't seem like a place where you would expect there was not a lot of vegan awareness. The culture, The food culture was so based on meat, ham specifically, that it just seemed like a very weird thing. And whenever I did talk to anyone about it, it would always be a sort of shocking thing. They would not be familiar with it. So it's just very interesting to me that like for a whole month, a Burger King in Portugal in Lisbon is going to be animal free. And it has all right. It's not just the Impossible Whoppers. The cheese and the bacon are vegan. The desserts, the mayonnaise. This is a quote from their guy, Jorge Carvalho, general manager of Burger King Spain and Portugal. Even the restaurant materials, such as cups, wipes, packaging, and bags, were carefully selected. And I mean, he says, like, with this trial, his quote, he says, eventually, if it goes well, we want to replicate the concept in Spain and other Portuguese cities to reach everyone. We can't just stay in Lisbon. I mean, that's the words of somebody who like has a vision to do more of this, and it's just really interesting that it's happening the way it is. Good news, of course, but just strange.
Yeah. So all right. So 2 questions here. What do you think the like end goal is? Obviously, he's talking about replicating it elsewhere, but replicating just month-long things, or are they trying to see if they could sustain a fully vegan Burger King? Like what? Like I wonder what their end goal is.
Yeah, I really don't know. I wondered, is this mainly a PR thing that would just sort of ingratiate them with vegans and vegetarians? Because it is for me. Like, the more we talk about this, the more I feel like Burger King is on our side, even if 95% of their menu is still, the enemy, basically, as far as what they're doing. But like, it feels like they're our friend now. And so like, it literally could be only that. Now that would be an expensive campaign, I think, to keep launching these things. But for as much attention as they probably get for this, maybe it's not a bad value. I don't know. We discussed early on in the show's history, we talked about, could there possibly be would there possibly always like be 100% all the time Burger King? Would it just be the vegan fast food place? And we said probably not. That seems like a strange thing to do. But then we said, if McDonald's has 40% of the fast food market share and Burger King has 2 or 3%, like going 100% vegan and being the first one that that's your niche, the vegan fast food. And it doesn't sound like it's that big of a thing that it seems like they could get into that. They're proving that they can do it for a month. I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like they would just grab suddenly 10% of the market. I'm sure I'm wrong about that, but
surely not 10. But yeah, I mean, they probably lose some people, but they'd gain a lot more, and certainly make a huge splash in the PR splash. So,
yeah.
So all right, so that was question number 1, and now question number 2 is, what would we've joked a lot about making road trips to go try out some of these things. Like what would Burger King within a 6 to 10 hour range of us be worth a road trip? I mean, what would actually constitute a live plant-based morning show from a space in your mind? So I'd have a hard time if there was a Burger King in, say, let's say Atlanta or I don't know, DC. I'd have a hard time passing that up.
But so I don't know the answer to your question. I believe a couple weeks ago I said something about, now if that happens, then I'll actually go make a road trip to it. I don't remember what the thing was, so it must not have been that serious. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like as much as I'm excited about that, would we really want to drive 4 hours, even 4 hours, to then be at Burger King and get a meal? I guess if we stayed over or something and did the show from the parking lot, maybe then.
I would totally do it. Do a show from the parking lot. Have a meetup. We could have a meetup and
listen. I think in 6 months that will not be as unfathomable as it is now. I think this. I mean, I think we're both in this for the long haul. It's growing at the rate that I think by that time point, or by that period of time, it would be a reasonable thing to do for a brand and decent investment in the show. So I don't really know. There are plenty of good. Right, there's Slutty Vegan in Atlanta, Doug. It's only 3.5 hours away. And
there's plenty. What'd you say?
Slutty Vegan. You know that place that gets all the attention now?
Oh yeah.
It's in New York City now as well. I think they got investment or something. But that's gonna be as good and better probably food than this Burger King food would be.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it doesn't appeal to me that much, the Slutty Vegan branding. It just seems weird. But we can always go anywhere to a good restaurant. I guess because we talk about Burger King so much, it sounds like that it should have to be that. I don't know. So anyway, that's the news. There's not much more there other than, to me, the news there is their excitement, or from what they're saying, it sounds like they want this to be bigger than just what's happening right now, to reach everyone. So that's super exciting to me. I don't know if it's more important than that, or if that's it, but kind of cool. All right, so I found some more things today to talk about. The one that really caught my eye, and you agreed, Doug, was an NPR article. And I never understand, Doug. You're an NPR person, so you probably do understand. They always have a audio version of it. Are these like radio shows that they then put into words? What's the word? Dictation, that they then give me a text of it?
No. I mean, NPR is National Public Radio, right? So radio is the number one. So this is this 7-minute listen is from one of the shows. I'm not sure what, because I haven't listened to it. Oh, Morning Edition. So it was yesterday's Morning Edition was talking about this for 7 minutes, which is cool. But then what they do is they take those a lot of the interesting topics and articles, and then write an article about it so you can share it and send it around. So this is not a
transcript.
A transcript, no.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, so I never listened to it. I just read it. But the headline is "From Science Fiction to Reality: No-Kill Meat may be coming soon." So you should check this out if you are at all interested in this topic. It's about the cultivated meat, which is now the term, at least that the Singapore major players have agreed that's what this is going to be called.
And this is what they call it. So that seems to be
I guess those. I really think Singapore, as we said before, is kind of the heart of all this activity. And so what comes out of there is what seems to stick, at least based on this. So it's what caught my eye about this article was the no-kill thing. They said no-kill meat, and I was thinking, okay, is this going to be about cultivated meat? Have they found a better way to do this that doesn't involve hurting animals? And I think that actually isn't the point. I think no-kill, they're saying this is for a more mainstream person who doesn't run a plant-based morning show. They're saying it's no-kill meat because it's not regular meat. They don't kill animals to make it. It's lab-grown meat. But it turns out, as I read some more, and it's just a really long profile that kind of, as you said, makes you finally grasp this concept, and it doesn't seem so weird. The pictures make it seem, it looks like a brewery. They're tanks, fermentation tanks, it looks like, but that's where they grow the meat. I guess the scaffolding or whatever that acts like the bone is in there already, and it just grows on there. But anyway, what they said later, one of the things they said in this was that it does take an extraction from it. They have to extract stem cells using, it sounds like a syringe. I don't know how often. That's still on my list of questions about this stuff. But it used to require the I totally don't have the names here, but like the for it to the medium that it would grow in, it used to have to be from a cow. It used to be the bovine, whatever, fetal something serum that it grows in. And I think getting that was what was the extremely cruel part of that. Just I'm just kind of surmising this. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
positive.
Sure.
But this company, which is called Upside Foods, used to be called Memphis Meats, by the way. They have developed some sort of substitute. I don't know if synthetic, but it's a substitute growth medium for the cells. So they've eliminated a huge part of the cruelty. So now it just takes these stem cells, which still involves animals. So whether it's vegan or not, that's I guess debate worthy. But anyway, the article, they just go into they show their kitchen. They show them slicing up the chicken, which is not able to be served or sold legally in this country yet, although it can in Singapore. And I believe they're also doing beef. But like it is happening and it looks clean. And the person writing the article said they went for a tour of it. And like by the end of it, it kind of just seems a lot like whatever, hydroponic gardening. Like it just seems like only that level of artificialness. It doesn't seem like creepy science fiction stuff, which is one of the big hurdles that mainstream people claim they have to this, that it seems like icky to eat meat grown in a tank. So I don't know if there's a whole bunch of news from it, but it's just a great jumping off point for a conversation about this. So, Doug, what thoughts did you have? Like when you said you read this and it was just like very eye opening for you. What in particular were you referring to?
Yeah, I mean, same as what you're saying, really. I mean, the whole idea of cultivated meat just felt really abstract and crazy sci-fi. And this, I mean, this, like you said, it looks like a brewery. And part of what they're saying is we have big windows everywhere. So when people can come and tour it, and you can see from the kitchen, like we want to expose like how this is actually done, so that people aren't scared of it anymore, and it can be this real thing. And I honestly, it was just really fascinating look into how this is happening, and it made me feel a lot better about it, and think that it really could be the future of meat once they can get the price down.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, so they talk about price as being a big thing. For me, like the pictures that I had seen of cultivated meat before, it was like a walk-in kind of room. And there was, like I said, the scaffolding that was representing the bones, and they showed the meat growing on it. It looked very weird. In the way that they have done this, which it just goes to show you how much like how it is positioned or marketed and packaged, really, like how important that is, because this somehow makes it seem like, wow, like it's here and it's interesting. Whereas what I saw before, where you walk into what I guess is a refrigerated room and see the stuff growing, like that was like weird sci-fi Stranger Things kind of stuff. It was just weird. Right. This is so different. And yeah, it just makes you think it's here. I mean, it's not here because, like I said, it's legally they've still got to get it approved. And I would imagine that depending on who's in office, like that, there are certain ways of thinking that don't think this sort of thing should happen, for religious reasons or whatever else, just messing with God's plan or also whatever.
Agricultural,
all of that, right? Of course.
The
although
industry.
Some of those big players, apparently, I guess Tyson and some other big meat players are invested in this company in particular, but also in the whole industry.
I mean, that's like oil companies investing in solar. They have to do something because they know that the end is near, and want to get in, so that they can keep control. But so a couple more things that I thought were interesting here. According to consumer research, 88% of Gen Z customers in the U.S. say they are somewhat open to trying cultivated meat, compared to about 72% of baby boomers. Somewhat open to trying it is not very convincing. I guess it's not 88% are excited about it or would want to buy it or something like that. But I think that's probably the first like crack in the door, right? For people to go in and want to do this, or want to give it a shot. So I don't know. It's just like, I know it's animal meat, right? It is animal meat, and they keep saying that. The interview or the guy who was touring it was like, oh, it tastes like chicken, and the founder was like, it is chicken, and and that, like, I have so many reservations around that from a health perspective and all of that, but it is just so incredibly exciting to me to think that we could completely revolutionize the way we're uh, involving animals in our food systems. And I did want to correct something or just call out something. You said that it still involves animals, but maybe I'm just reading this wrong, but it says the cultivated meat industry bovine serum from cows
Yep.
as a growth medium for cells.
Mhm.
Though Upside Foods has developed an animal component-free alternative. That's all it says. But
Yes.
that makes me think that they've made it to where there's no animal involved, or they could do it with no animal.
I'm pretty sure that is what I was talking about earlier. I'm pretty sure what they're talking about is the growth medium only for the cells. They still have to actually get the thing that begins the cells themselves, the stem cells, I think. And it sounds like
Okay.
that must come from an animal. And there's no way you can do this without getting the DNA from an animal, right? I mean, it's got to start somewhere.
Well, unless you can just like print it, right? I mean, like replicate it.
Yeah, we'll just go print it. It's easy nowadays. We just print it. No, I mean you're right. Based on the other stuff that's happening with precision fermentation and all that, it doesn't sound that far fetched. But I'm pretty sure that the two things are separate. There is the growth medium, which our friend Jonathan James Life found the words that I was not finding. As you said, Doug, fetal bovine serum. I'm actually not sure. I could be wrong here about this. My interpretation was that there's two different parts. But anyway, I don't really know. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things about this article that were interesting to me. There's the health component. There's the sort of which I think is a concern, and I guess let's just talk about that rather than me list more things that are interesting because we get to those. It doesn't sound like, I guess my thinking before was like, if they could just come out with this, then if they could make it available, if the price is reasonable, then it's like everyone just will switch this because it's identical to animal meat and it's so much better for the environment and for animals. But there are actual health concerns. Like they have to make these decisions about how to get these cells to grow. It's crazy technology that they are doing. The guy, by the way, used to work, I guess, in some sort of cardiac hospital area, and he saw them growing heart tissue, and that's where he got this. It almost sounds like the guy who did this came up with the idea for cultivated meat. Period.
That's the way they kind of make it sound.
Except it doesn't seem like it was long enough ago for that to be happening. And more than 15 years ago, when he was seeing this happen, I would imagine somebody had thought of this before that, but who knows? But so they need to figure out what to feed these cells, and they have lots of scientists that are working on that. But there was some question later, and I had this question as I was reading it, and then I saw that so do scientists about like crazy multiplication of cells. Like if you get this wrong, or just get this in a way that seems right, like find a way that maybe they find a way that makes it cheap because it maximizes the growth. Maybe the growth of the cells explodes and they can make, so much more way faster than they could in other ways. Like then we're putting that in our bodies and having to assume that doesn't, I mean, not that just eating something like that's going to make our cells multiply like crazy and give us all cancer. I know that's a huge jump, but it points to how many unknowns there are about this sort of thing.
Totally.
Right? Actual animal meat, although has plenty of health problems, right? We've got red meat being a possible carcinogen, I think, by the World Health Organization, and processed meat is definitely a carcinogen, classified as such by that group. Although it has those things going for it, that it is not good for our long-term health. I've said this before. It has hundreds of thousands of years of like data showing that it kind of works. It keeps us alive for 50 to 80 years. Whereas this, we don't know, right? Who knows? And you're not going to be able to have 30 years of tests on this before people start eating it, I don't think. So like that'll be a very big concern for me. And I think that will prevent me from ever having this become a huge part of my diet. Not to mention the fact that I don't want the health downsides that come from regular meat. Like that by eating this, even if it didn't have some sort of unknown new cancer-causing mechanism in it, which that'd be my big worry, it still has the downsides of eating regular meat if it's nearly identical, and I don't want that either. They did say they can sort of engineer it to make it healthier, like they could put more omega-3 fatty acids into it based on what they're giving it. So it's really interesting. And then there's of course the vegan thing. That do I want to have this? Like, is it still a vegan thing to do? And we can talk about that in a minute, but I don't know. What do you think about the health stuff? Is any of that concerning to you, or are you just all in? Oh, by the way, before you answer, I saw that some companies were talking about using part this meat and part plant-based meat. So
Mhm.
bringing the price down in that way, using the technology we already have, the Beyond Meat, the Impossible Meat, the same type of stuff, probably not those brands, mixing it to some extent with this meat so that then you get something of the animal flavor with much less perhaps of the health concern, and
Yeah.
certainly much less of the cost.
Well, yesterday we talked about using just the fat, right? Instead of the whole meat, they were growing
Yep.
cultivated fat, animal fat,
Yep.
which is super interesting. Yeah, I definitely have similar reservations around the unknowns about something like this for
Right.
my health, as I would, as I think it's healthy with any sort of brand new thing that you're putting in your body. And I think that's why 88% of people are open to the possibility of trying it one day and not eager to try it, because it is weird, and there are a lot of unknowns and there's no research on it. Obviously,
Right.
like, people are eating it now, like this guy is eating it, and I'm sure that people are doing that, but that's not a big study. That's a
They're
study of
not
one.
instantly
Or
dying. We know it doesn't instantly kill you. You can survive long enough to then
That's right.
report
That's
back.
right. But the thought of like feeding my kids this or something like that, I mean, of course, I have major reservations around that, which is why and honestly, that's why I have reservations around a lot of processed food, because there's just put in them that I don't know what it is and what it's going to do to me, and why I'd much rather pull, a vegetable from my garden and eat that than buy something at the store. But at the same time, like, no, it's just the possibilities of something like this have me super excited for what it could mean for the world, for the environment, for access to food. But so there's one quote here. This is Hans, who is UCLA from the medical center, registered dietitian. She says, cultivated meat may not appeal to vegans or vegetarians. She points to the healthiness of plant-based diets, which is the diet she follows, and some people don't want to eat meat no matter how it's produced. And I think that's kind of the question we're wrestling with, and not only the unknowns of the cultivated meat, but also, like, even if it is perfectly healthy or perfectly, it's not going to hurt you long term, and there's nothing different about it than animal meat. Like, is that really what we want? I mean, do we really want to start introducing that into our diets? Because,
Right.
like, we know firsthand that the plant-based diet works for us. So
Yeah. So Jonathan James Life points out in response to me saying, there is at least 100,000 plus year track record of meat sustaining humans for a reasonable amount of time. He says not the way factory farming does it though. So that's a really good point, right? It's not what's happening there is if we're worried about unnatural growth mechanisms helping to grow this cell culture meat, that's already also happening in factory farming. They're giving all kinds of stuff and things, and you can avoid. I think hormones aren't allowed to be in any chickens in the U.S. anyway. But like you can avoid things like that by making different choices or just not having a period. So it's a good point. They already are. It
yeah,
already is unnatural the way it's happening. Um,
right.
so as far as like, would we eat it? I don't know. It's funny, like the 88% or whatever who are kind of open to trying this seems like tentatively open to trying this. Like, I don't think even it's like it's not like you can go to vegans and get a way better response rate there. Like, because vegans are also apprehensive, like maybe even more so because they don't want to eat animal flesh. It just seems weird, even when it's
Yeah,
done
yeah,
in the most humane way possible. And so and if you go to meat eaters, it just seems like a weird lab grown version of what they're already eating. So why are they going to be excited about it? So it is weird. Who's the actual target market? Um, I don't think it's vegans for sure. That's not the exciting part of this. It's the fact that we could potentially eliminate agriculture so that everyone else doesn't have to eat it anymore.
mhm,
Animal agriculture. I don't know. I've always sort of felt guilty in some way, like imagining myself eating this, just because I always knew that it was at its heart a non-vegan way of getting the starting the source material, right? The stem cells. So it's not a vegan product. At the same time, like I don't know, these days I think I'm much more practical in the way I think about stuff now than I used to be. I'm just less idealistic. Like if it involves animals, I will never touch it. You think more about the possibility. I saw a post from Robbie Lockey, who we had on the podcast, co-founder of Plant Based News. His Instagram, I think it was his personal Instagram. They shared a picture of some 650,000 square foot pig facility in China, and just there had been video taken inside. And it was just an awful thing. But in that post, they said something like, vegans who are opposed to cultivated meat, like basically wake up, like look what's happening and look what
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
eliminated with this. So like
Uh-huh.
to take the purest vegan stance and say I'm against this because it's not vegan, like that's just so short-sighted. I just think certainly some people that's where they get their whole identity is from being someone who is completely opposed to anything involving animal products. But when you think how much potential good there is here, uh, it's very hard to be against this. Now, whether or not you'll eat it for yourself, I don't know. Whether or not I'll eat it for myself, I'm not sure.
Mm.
If they gave me that plate of chicken that they show, or the cut up pieces of chicken that they showed in the article, I mean, I think I'd try it. I'd be very curious about.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'm not so, even having not eaten that for 13, 14 years now, it's not like it's so repulsive to me that I just can't imagine trying this cell based version of it.
Right. What's repulsive is thinking about where it came from. Like if you were presented now with a chicken breast, from
Mhm.
Tyson Farm, something like that, like there would be no part of me that would be interested in trying that because
Right,
just I know
because
I
it
know
comes with
what
all that. Right.
it comes with all that baggage. I mean, and the health stuff is just like secondary now to everything else. Like there's just no part of me that would be interested in that. Whereas this, on the other hand, it's like it's intriguing. And honestly, I don't think I left you a comment in our Slack channel about like this was a really good article for me because it kind of made me understand what the whole process is and kind of see it in real life terms. And this is honestly the first time I've gotten it enough to even be intrigued to really try it. Like we've talked about it a lot,
Right.
and I never really was appealing to me, and it's still not. I mean, I still have a lot of like red flags, but but at least now I'm intrigued by it and interested in it. But like you said, I think it's so short. I mean, so short sighted to be against it, right? This has
Yeah.
to be part of the transformation of the meat industry, and I hope that the plant based meat industry and I hope that plant based foods in general can continue to grow and thrive and transform the way we eat food. But this has to be part of it if we want to have a more sustainable food system. And as Mr. Jeffrey points out, he says, I think this product is the highest impact around food security and environmental benefits. And I think he's probably right. Like, I mean, we're just never going to have everybody switch over to lentils. Like, it's just not going to happen. But it's possible that this could integrate itself into the meat industry enough to where it makes a real substantial difference.
Yeah. And in a world where like it's increasingly feels like a house of cards that like just who knows what thing's going to come up next, right? What war, what pandemic, what thing's going to make just new shock to the food supply. I saw some headlines that like people will agree that a plant-based diet in general helps to limit that shock, lessens our exposure perhaps to some environmental factors. This to me does so much more, right? This takes all the food production indoors basically. And we have a certain amount of known inputs, and it sounds like we I guess the process would be so dialed in theory that like it would probably insulate us against shocks that happen, and I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, last thing that I had to say on this, someone pointed out at the very beginning. I don't know who it was, but that people have this reaction to new technology and things that are strange until we start trying them, and then soon enough they're part of our lives. We talked about the
Yeah.
social media at the top of this. All that stuff would have been mind blowing to imagine that we would be so addicted to those things 20 years ago, if you told us that this would
Mm-hmm.
be what life is. Everyone walks around with their head in the phone, but it happened. And even like the Beyond Meat, the first time I had a Beyond Meat burger, bought them at the grocery store, came home, cooked them in the skillet, and the smell was like extremely, almost off-putting how similar it was to meat. I just hadn't smelled that, tasted that at that point. It had been 10 years. So it was a very strange thing.
Yeah.
Now I get Impossible Whopper and it's nothing because I'm just used to it. So I think like everything else, we will get used to this, or those of us who eat it at least, including those who aren't vegan at all. I think we're gonna get to the point where it's not weird. So the cost is the big thing still, but very very exciting that this is this close. It just has always seemed like it's so far off in the future, but it's starting to seem like it's not all that far off.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing to call it, like their big facility can only do 50,000 pounds a year,
Yeah, right.
which I mean is nothing, right? I would imagine. I don't think it's anything.
Well, I think the average person in the U.S. I just saw this morning eats 220 pounds per year. So about 2/3 of a pound every single day. So I mean that's like a neighborhood supply of meat for the year. 50,000 pounds,
Right.
nothing.
So,
Yeah.
so even if this was approved by the FDA and they got up and running, like
Yeah.
it's a ways away before we're seeing any sort of major shifts in the in what you buy at the grocery store.
Yeah, a ways away, but I mean, the article did say that there were 80 competitors or 80, companies like that are also looking to get in once the approval is there. And I think, once it's figured out, I don't know for sure, but it sounds like you could scale this very quickly once the legal stuff, regulatory stuff is handled. Doesn't seem like anything that would prevent them from putting a billion more of those brewery tanks in some other
Yeah,
bigger
no,
place,
that's
and
true.
then
Mhm.
they got who knows. A couple comments are in the Facebook, the multi-stream. This is from Tim. He says, "I'm sure we can make it relatively painless for animals to get a stem cell from them." I was wondering about that. I was thinking, like, what if it, again, speaking practically, if one animal out of every, well, the whole conversation changes because then we don't have billions of animals that are being raised anymore. And then I also wondered when it says save trillions of animals' lives, which is they said at the end of the article, could potentially do that. I was starting to go down this philosophical thought, and I was like, but then those trillions of animals aren't even born in the first place because we're no longer raising them. Are we really saving their lives, or are we're just not bringing them into existence anymore? Uh, so obviously the lives that they live are not any that I would wish upon any animal when we're talking about this animal agriculture. So yes, we are kind of saving them from that, or saving. It's weird, saving these souls from that without it ever existing. But he said, "I'm sure we can make it relatively painless for them." And I was thinking, like, if even from a vegan perspective, let's say one animal needs to be the sacrificial lamb, for lack of a better word, that gives us the stem cells. Maybe then they can give that animal a much better life than all the other animals have, as a reward, and we can level out. It's really, I mean, so
Uh-huh.
on net,
Yeah,
it's a happier life than any other animal because we can afford to give it more
it just gets
resources and attention.
poked every couple of weeks, and
Yeah, but in between that, not every 2 weeks, just once in his life, and then some other
oh
one
yeah,
does it. But
okay,
when they do, then they're retired and they're glorified, and they get statues made, and they're
yeah,
I don't know, they live the nicest
uh-huh,
life you could possibly give an animal. Make it free, maybe. Who knows? I'm not
yeah,
trying to be funny here and make fun of him. I'm seriously thinking, like,
right,
if,
right,
if literally what it is some sort of syringe thing, and we're talking about animal welfare, we can make up for that with other things. I think by putting more resources into what that animal is given,
hmm
particularly freedom, right, in some way or another.
yeah.
So who
They,
knows? I'm sure good
they
will come out
talked
of that.
about they talked about how this could potentially significantly reduce the risks of animal-borne diseases, and things like that because you're not having the factory farms and the livestock. Um, I wonder, are stem cells just? You may know this, you may not. Are stem cells just some stem cells? Like they're all the same from animal to animal, or like could a cow have a bad stem cell and they like produce 50,000 pounds of meat and it's just it
I
has
mean,
it has some.
I think when they get them, they're getting them by the billions. I don't think it's one bad stem cell that they're getting.
Sure. Okay.
You might have a cow whose genes are messed up for whatever reason, and I mean, I don't know anything
Uh-huh.
about this. I'm just guessing. I
Yeah.
have no idea. Good question.
And hopefully they would have some sort of testing system before they went on to um,
Yeah,
recreate it. But I don't know.
yeah. Who knows? Weird world. Interesting, but I'm glad this is happening. It's good.
Yeah.
Uh, So the only two quick things I did want to mention today that we didn't really get worked into that conversation: Beyond Meat and the American Cancer Society have partnered to do research on plant-based meat over the next few years. They acknowledge that like there's lots of promising stuff. Even the research with comparing plant-based meat to regular meat when it comes to things like heart disease, even that research, still much more needs to be done. But cancer, like that's the more we talk about how these high tech things, the 3D printing, I just wonder about these restructuring of proteins and like how much of that is going to turn out to not be good for us down the road. So I am glad that kind of work is being done. Uh, Hopefully Beyond Meat doesn't have too much influence and it can actually be real science that is done. But I think what's happening is Beyond Meat is basically giving the money to do this and perhaps
Yeah. Right.
some bit
Mhm.
of access to customers, maybe for surveys or whatever. So that's kind of cool. And then a good place to wrap up. This is there was just some kind of large thing, I think on 30,000 consumers from all different countries. And it was determined that 41%, 4 out of 10, uh, believe that in the next decade, plant-based meat will replace animal meat. And I think all the way, or right, virtually 100% of it, that it will just animal agriculture will go away and it will become plant-based meat or lab-grown meat or whatever. Compared to the numbers you just said, where 80% were interested but not really, well, not interested, willing maybe to try this stuff. Somehow 40% of people thinking that it's going to replace it. That's pretty massive to me, because I think that's where it begins. Like if you're someone who thinks this is going to eventually replace it, then surely you're eventually going to be open to trying it yourself, or at least not be opposed to the idea of it. So I don't know. That's way more than I would have expected would have a positive outlook for that.
Yeah, same here. I would have maybe said that 40% think that plant-based meats will be, more consumed more than animal meats in 10 years, but like to completely replace it. I think that's a huge stretch there. So
yeah, and they linked to the original research. I didn't go that deeply into it, but they just said it will replace. So I assume that.
It's awesome that people are thinking that way. I mean, more importantly, how true it is that it would actually happen. It's the fact that people are thinking that means that they're going to be open to trying new things and embracing stuff as it becomes available.
Yep. All right, good. Well, we've been wanting to have the big cultivated meat show for a while, and we finally did it without even really meaning to do it. That article came up, and it was an easy entry point into it, and I'm glad we did it. It was fairly painless. I was worried about getting into all kinds of ethical things, and I don't know, but this is good. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have a lot more goofy sound effects and jokes and things.
We didn't get any sound effects.
We had nothing. I have the Burger King sound. Got to do it. I'm not going to have my sound machine with me in Germany, so the show will be missing a key element in all this.
I know. What are we going to do?
Some alternate way. I mean, I can do it on my regular computer, but that's the one that I always keep the volume down on, so that we don't hear the get the microphone feedback and all that. So we'll have to see. It might just have to be no sounds for 2 weeks. By the way, more volunteers have come in, Doug. I haven't told you yet the news, but there are several exciting people who would like to join you for a show.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. If we need it. You and I were talking yesterday. There may be very few days that I actually can't do it. It all just depends on the schedule that we find out about.
Yeah.
All right. The Whole Health Experience says, let's talk fermented veg meat next time. I don't know too much about that. I mean, I know about the fermentation and the dairy, animal-free dairy that's happening. I don't know much about fermented meats. I've seen a few little things, but yeah, we will probably not next time, but one of these days we'll have that
definitely
big one too.
And if you've seen a bunch of articles, send them our way because we want to check them out.
Yeah. By the way, and people have been doing that without my asking, but feel free to send us a direct message, a DM at Plant-Based Morning Show Instagram account, and just send us whatever articles you have, or just tag us on articles or put our name in the comments or whatever, and we'll see it, and then we can plan this show a little more easily. So yeah, but thank you everyone for the support. By the way, a lot of people in the beginning said that they enjoyed the headline format, and they were pointing out some good benefits of that, and they said it was nice. They felt like they got informed, and Steven said it was a jumping off point for our own creative and interesting discussions. Someone says informed about where to go to dinner or not. And Jeff said never felt the headline format was clunky, but he could see how it feels like we're just a news outlet. I promise you, we are not that at all. We don't do any actual work like news outlets do. We just read their work and then put it into a goofy show.
One day, maybe. One day. One day we'll be out interviewing people.
I'm sure that's going to happen. We're going to have a team of reporters. Right.
Do our own research.
Yes. That's what's going to happen.
Or not. I mean, or maybe we'll just be hanging out at the one lone fully vegan Burger King.
That's right.
Just doing our thing.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks everyone again, and we'll be back tomorrow for the real hump day. Hopefully my week speeds up a little bit. All right.
See ya.
Talk to you.